Everyone has emotions, but would you break up with a guy if he cries in front of you? In this episode of IMO, we explore whether or not emotional vulnerability is a turn-off in a relationship.
I don't think any girl will want to date me because I cry a lot and I don't inspire their confidence. So that's what I thought.
Is more of a self-image thing?
It's a self-image thing because no one has ever told me this.
I feel like women generally just prefer to want to be in the know of things. They want to know how you feel. Yeah, it's like emotional intelligence, how you communicate it, how you portray it to them.
Right. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of In My Opinion. My name is John.
My name is Lester.
My name is Breanna.
Yeah. So today we have Breanna, who is John's girlfriend, back once again. Last year, she had one of the most viral videos of IMO. This year, hopefully, we can recapture some of the magic.
Yeah.
But before we get into this
so
episode...
no pressure, that's your KPI, huh?
It's fine.
Before we get into this episode, we're going to, do follow us on
Yes.
Instagram, Telegram, TikTok, Overthink SG, and also on Twitch, Overthink SG.
Yes.
But yes,
Except for Spotify, different.
except for Spotify.
Okay.
Okay, Spotify is the link down below.
Correct.
We always say it.
Yeah.
But yes, so today we're going to be reacting to a TikTok. And let me just play a TikTok right now.
Women are not built to handle masculine problems. Being vulnerable with a woman is some of the worst advice that modern day women give to men, because if I sit there and I cry to you, oh my God, my life is hard, blah, 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 you might sit there and console me for a bit, but deep down you're like, you fucking bitch. And you're going to go and find someone.
so not true.
I know.
So you're saying that what he's saying is incorrect?
No,
that a guy
vulnerability
should
shows
cry in front of
vulnerability is
Be
so
human.
powerful.
Again, this is a common example of women saying one thing but doing another. They're saying this right now because it's politically correct to say, you can cry to me, you can be vulnerable to me, etc. But deep down, if your man came to you and was crying on your shoulder saying, I don't know what's going on, her
I would be
vagina's
there
gonna...
for him.
Can I finish? Her vagina's gonna dry up. She ain't gonna want to fuck with him anymore. And she's gonna look for a stronger, more capable man, because women are designed to look for security.
Just because they cry once, bro?
Hey man, I can't tell you how many times we brought girls on the show with their own, they tell us on air, one time my boyfriend cried in front of me and I never looked at him the same.
Okay, so after watching this TikTok, I sent it to John at first, and John, you had some opinions about it.
I have some opinions of it, but I surprisingly find myself not passionately opinionated about it. But we'll elaborate later.
Yeah. So I was thinking okay, let's have a female perspective on this as well, because we can say from the guy's perspective, but we also want to know from the female perspective.
And then we get the freelance talents that are frictions, either my girlfriend or your girlfriend. So
Exactly. So she was available. My girlfriend did not want to be put in the hot seat.
right.
Okay.
So now she's in the hot seat. So let's all have preliminary thoughts, okay? Is being emotionally vulnerable in a relationship does being emotionally vulnerable in a relationship make you less attractive?
Right.
Yes or no?
No.
No. You?
For me, my answer is a bit longer.
Okay.
But yes
I
or no
would
first.
say in wait.
Okay, fine.
Calm down.
Fine.
I would say in this relationship, no,
Okay.
but not in all relationships.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Later we'll go into factors. Okay. You say no very, very clearly.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why?
Because if I compare it between the guy being emotionally vulnerable versus not, right, I would very much prefer the first one.
So you're comparing emotionally vulnerable versus emotionless and not able to express emotion properly.
Meaning emotionally unavailable or
Just closed off, don't know how to talk about it, don't want to show anything.
Okay.
So I'll very much prefer them to be vulnerable than the other lah. Or the
Okay.
complete opposite lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you prefer them to share. Okay, but
So even to the point whereby they're just like crying and say, I don't know what to do anymore.
oh, okay. Does that make it does it change your opinion of them? Okay, so it might be that, because in this case, this guy asserts that if you are emotionally vulnerable, you'll be less attractive.
Yeah.
But there's also a school or camp of people, which is why soft boys exist, right?
Yeah.
That if you're emotionally vulnerable, you'll be more attractive. Or is it to you if you're emotionally vulnerable, it's a neutral thing?
I think it's because a lot of maybe it's a generalized statement, but a lot of guys who don't show as much emotion, they don't talk about it, so it makes it very hard to know, for us to understand what is wrong. We don't know how to help them. We don't know what's going on with them. So that in itself, it's not that.
No, but sometimes
idea.
if someone is being emotionally vulnerable, it's not in the seek help kind of way. Right?
Yeah, but if there's, I don't know, I feel like women generally just prefer to want to be in the know of things. They want to know how you feel, how you thing.
It's a communication. So it's a
Yeah.
communication thing for you, lah.
Yeah.
It's not so much about like being emotionally vulnerable.
Right.
It's like being able to communicate effectively your emotions and your feelings. lah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
you see it as a sign as being able to communicate effectively.
Yeah, it's like
and
emotional
also well.
intelligence, how you communicate it, how you portray it to them.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay. I've never thought about it that way actually. Wait, have you cried in front of Brianna?
No, I have not.
Is there a reason why? It's just nothing has made you
Nothing
cry?
has triggered me to cry, and I'm just built different.
Have you cried in a relationship before?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I've cried once or twice after a breakup. Cried during really touching shows.
Coco,
Okay.
Coco.
Coco, we have not watched Coco.
Mm-mm.
Well, when I was with my ex, then we watched in the cinema, and then in the cinema, I ugly cried in public,
Okay.
like saliva everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, but like if it's like a bad day, that kind of cry. Okay, but normally you don't cry.
Doesn't
when you're-
get to me. These are not the things that get to me.
Okay.
Then what makes you cry?
Me?
Everything.
for me, I've definitely cried in front of Kezia before.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
So like I remember the few times is like one of them was like school. I was going through a lot of stress in school.
Okay.
I cried. There was one more time where like I think I was going through a lot of stress with like overthink and like work, and
Okay.
I cried.
Okay.
And it's like a few more times like BTO, like last week's episode, after we discussed about the BTO finances, I cried also. Fuck man, it's damn stressful. So like
You're in this aspect are quite similar.
I don't cry very
Right,
often.
when the wind blows a bit too hard from the wrong direction and then you cry.
Is it like I would say so, but I think I wouldn't say that I cry very often to the point where it's like a daily occurrence or
Right.
even
Okay.
like a weekly or monthly occurrence.
Okay.
Same.
It's like once in a while when it's really, really stressful, then I'll cry. I'm not afraid of showing my
Your first
emotions.
reaction is cry.
No lah, not my first reaction lah.
Not lah.
No lah. I will like tong for a while, then I cannot tong anymore, then I cry.
Okay.
Like I will try to tong a bit, like at least
Right,
I'll try to
right.
like take it on the chin a
Right,
little
right.
bit before
Okay.
before like if it's like too overwhelming, then I cry. Most of the time if I get to the cry part means like shit is going down already lah.
Okay.
Like, that's generally how it is. It's not like immediately when I got stressed then straight away cry already. That's not how I operate
Okay.
most of the time. But other than that, I mean like of course shows it is like touching our cries.
Yeah,
That one a bit hard. lah.
that one like unavoidable. It just hits different.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Okay, so have you ever felt like you should not cry in front of your partner?
Yes.
How you really? Oh, okay. Why?
No, I feel like in this relationship, I feel like if we are having an argument or a serious talk, then I will try my best to not cry so that the conversation can like run smoothly.
So it's more of a.
So is it because I don't let you cry or?
No, I feel like, I mean, this relationship is obviously way different from the previous ones, which are like very emotionally driven. This one, I feel like it's very logically driven. So if we meet any like problems, we want to face them logically and like solve them the most efficiently, which means less emotions, less crying while we're talking about it. Just get down to the facts and then done.
Is this so? Do you feel like you wish that you feel okay? Do you wish that you will feel more like able to cry or have more freedom to cry, or you think this is a good place lah?
I'll cry if we like take time away from each other to like, let's say if we fight, you want some time off, then I'll cry then. But if we meet to like hash it out and like talk right, then I will not.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then how about you?
Yeah.
For me, I am the sort that we agreed for a long time ago
Yeah.
that I'm the sort that will require time off to simmer down in order to have a logical conversation about the problem at hand.
Yeah.
So, but I do not find the need to cry as the release.
Okay.
I just need to be away from it to collect my thoughts.
Okay, or maybe like not just like crying, because in this case, this guy specifically named crying. But like, what about like, being emotionally vulnerable in the sense of like sharing your true emotions. If you're sad, you are sad. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I've been very open with that.
Okay.
If I ever think that something is affecting me or that it is kind of me, it makes me upset, or I don't really like it, I will most of the time try to weigh the pros and cons and whether it's worth bringing up in my head. But then I'm also not like afraid to mention
say
it
lah.
lah. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean that's one part. Cause like crying, this guy say crying is like the sign of emotional vulnerability, but there's also other ways to to show emotional vulnerability as well, right? But I think he said crying because like there's like I guess expectation that like men are not supposed to
And
cry.
there's a stigma about crying because it feels like crying only happens in a time of weakness, right?
Yeah. So like when I guess in that sense, I have thought about this before. In fact, like back then when I was going through therapy, like one of the things I said to therapists before is that like I don't think any girl will want to date me because I cry a lot and like they want someone who's strong who can take care of them and I don't inspire their confidence. So
Is
that's what I thought.
this more of a self-image thing?
It's a self-image thing because no one has ever told me this.
Yeah.
No one has like ever
Because-
specifically said like, oh, because you cry,
Yeah.
I cannot trust you, or because you cry, I feel like you're not a trustworthy like boyfriend. I don't think you can take care of me.
Because personally, you know, when I hear these kind of things, I almost 100% cannot relate. Purely because I think to myself, right, if I ever do cry in front of a partner and the partner thinks differently of me or looks at me differently after that, right?
Yeah.
Then I know my self-worth enough that I don't need this partner.
I agree.
I will not want this partner.
Yeah.
You know
But
what I
I
mean?
think like traditionally, I guess in the maybe like when I was younger, especially when you're younger, especially like when you are still learning about love and how that works, like what you see in like I guess movies and stuff about like the guy being the protector, the guy must be the manly guy to take care of the girl is normally the damsel in distress, whatever. When suddenly when the guy you are no longer allowed, when a guy like feels like emotional vulnerability, he might feel like he's no longer living up to their expectations. So maybe it's image thing or traditional like gender role thing.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that like no one has ever told me that like, oh, because you cried, like I didn't trust you.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like all in my head. But at the same time, I think there's like there's always like a limit, right? So like this is a bit more nuanced. So I feel like when you say that, like cry one, I'm very sure you say cry one time or once in a while cry or be emotionally vulnerable, that would definitely not be a deal breaker. For you, not deal breaker. For me, not deal breaker. For you, it's not deal breaker. In fact, I would say if anything is more attractive, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that you're able to communicate yourself effectively. I also view it as like a EQ thing or EI thing that like you're able to express yourself well and you express your emotions well. But then there's like the other end of the spectrum, which is like someone who maybe don't like very high of neuroticism to the point where like cry like every day or like cry very, very often where it's like a bit disruptive sometimes. Then what is that line for you guys? Because like for different people there'll be different lines or different tolerance for these sort of things. And I understand that like even back when I was having anxiety where I would cry almost every single day, I understand that like not everyone I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Some people will be okay with it, some people will not. So I'm just wondering what your own like line is.
Interestingly, something I never thought about, but I would say that if it's like a cry every day kind of situation in which I have no answer for and it starts to affect me, right?
Yeah.
That will be a deal breaker for me
Yeah.
in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I feel helpless, because if someone cries, they're in distress, I want to help them, right? But if it's to the point where like whatever I say, whatever I do won't make them feel better, right? Then it will make me feel very exhausted, make me feel very tired and pressured as well. So I think that's the point where like I draw the line.
Yeah, and like for me, like, because what I want in a relationship is a partner who can kind of support me as much as I support them. Right? So if this person's emotional needs are so heavy and so heavy to the point whereby they in no way can shoulder a part of mine,
Yeah.
right? Then that is a deal breaker for me, for sure.
Okay. I mean, I feel kind of bad, but I do think that it is like, not say a deal breaker, but it is something that I will want. It cannot be a long-term thing. Like if you tell me that like you're going through like a bad time in your life or like maybe like you might be even like clinically diagnosed with depression or anxiety or anything along those lines, I wouldn't break up with you because of it. But at the same time, like it needs to be something that we are constantly working towards, like a better future or better something
like
like
if they're
that.
seeking help and whatnot, then of course I'll be there to support you. But if they're like not receiving any help, they're like rejecting everything, they just all they want to do is cry. Then
Yeah, I think it's the rejecting advice thing. Because like before the cameras rolled, I was talking to Breanna before you came. Like you were saying that like the one, I think you told me this before. Like one of your pet peeves is that when people ask you for advice and then they don't do the advice you give,
And then after that still fail.
and then still fail, then that will piss you off.
That one is my biggest pet peeve.
I think that kind of aligns with this also.
It absolutely does.
Like I feel like it's the same thing. Like I feel like if it's like emotionally vulnerable, I think that's fine. But if if it gets to the point where I feel like you're either like putting yourself in very, very bad scenarios or like drama-filled scenarios, or might be like I guess like almost like looking for it sometimes. Like it might like make me a bit like
Yeah, it's like
weird lah.
you get out of a toxic situation, but you re-attract your next one.
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
re-manifest your next one by putting yourself in its way. Like that in itself is a very touchy thing, right? But also like also is a toxic behavior lah.
Yeah, I agree.
And that will really push the limits, will really test the limits of my commitment to that particular relationship.
And I feel like it's not even just like for relationships. We were saying that like even for friends, it
Friendships.
might even be a thing. Because like I remember having friends who were like really emotional. And to be fair, at the time I was also very emotional. So we kind of just fed off each other. And we were both okay because we were both like that kind of. You know, but like now thinking back, I think about it, like every day had a problem.
Yeah.
And every day had a new drama.
Correct.
And it seemed like it never ended.
Yeah.
And then now that I think about it, like if the same thing happened to me now in my current state, I probably wouldn't have been very okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have a real life example where a friend was really self-sabotaging at that point of time, right?
Yeah.
To the point whereby I more or less cut off most relationships with them and never really associated properly with them. And it was kind of upsetting because we were really close at some point. But it reached a point whereby it was too tiring for me to keep up. Because very self-sabotaging, like everything is like the base attitude is that like the world is out to get them, everything is everyone's fault, and everyone is just trying to tear them down.
It's almost like self-wallowing in like self-pity. That kind of.
And then every conversation I go to or every situation that arises that requires us to have a conversation is triggered by a behavior that stems from that mindset. So it could be like feedback from work, it could be like friends, it could be like relationship, it could be like all kinds of things, right? But it all comes down to it's because people don't like me.
Okay. Yeah, I can see like I think the swallowing in self-pity one is that one's difficult to deal with lah. Especially very tiring. You don't see end or solution to it lah.
And also I've learned right now after going through like so many friends who do that, or like I have a particular friend who like keeps doing that. So I've learned right how to deal with them is that when they come to me with problems, I will immediately ask them, do you want advice or do you just want me to listen?
Yeah.
So that I won't waste my time.
And like I guess I don't know, man. Like I'm a bit torn with this situation about like how much the line is. Also because like there was a period of time where like I've gone through my rough patch, and I understand that like sometimes like being emotionally like unstable might not be your fault. It might not be anyone's fault, to be fair. It could just be it comes down to like some say chemistry or whatever.
It's true, but I feel that like another thing that has to come with that is that like as much as it's gonna sound very privileged to say, but regardless of the circumstance that you're in, right, it's still not justified for you to be someone else's burden beyond their limit.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Which makes you feel that as if the world is a very lonely place where you're on your own, right? But that's not the case. It's about not pushing people away. Yeah. Or past their limits so they go away.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things I've learned when like having gone through anxiety and like being in a relationship is that like I cannot like take my partner as a substitute for therapy. Or if I cannot treat them like my therapist. They are not my therapist, they are my friend, they are here to support me. But I can't like unload like therapist level things on them because it's not fair to them as well. So like knowing when and how to be emotionally vulnerable is something that I had to learn also. But at the same time, like if you're going through some shit, like I can imagine it's not really in your control almost. So I feel bad for saying that like, oh, it might be a little bit of a deal breaker for me because I was once in that place also. And it's not really their fault also.
Yeah, I guess that was one of the reasons why you mentioned you feel bad about saying that lah. But I think it's when we are in these kind of situations where we are lucid and able to discuss these kind of things without any stakes.
Yeah.
It's the time where we need to mentally prepare ourselves for a situation where we aren't.
Yeah.
And as a result, this conversation has to happen about what the potential limits of your partner could be. Because that's really important, you see. You do all these things that you want to ask your partner to shoulder your load. Fair. But you must also keep in mind your partner's load-bearing limit.
They have a mental health they have to take care of also. Yeah.
Right? You need to be wary of their limit because if you cross the limit, there's a high chance they bend or they break. And if they break, it will backfire in your direction too.
Like for you, have you ever experienced like anyone who's like too emotional, like not friends, but like in relationships where like you cannot handle?
Emotional, not in like just a specific crying sense, but emotional as in like angry, upset, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have like definitely.
Wait, so what happened?
No, lah, it just always felt like whatever I was doing was wrong.
Okay.
So I always had to like, let's say, thread very carefully of like what I have to say or like what I am doing, etc. etc. Like it's almost like anything that I do could be deemed as wrong or upsetting to him.
Okay, so
Yeah, or like he can be like an avid gamer. He wasn't or is, I don't know, an avid gamer guy, and he just gets so emotional and invested in it that like I will try to not speak to him while he's gaming, because if I open my mouth, he'll just tell me like shut the fuck up or like just fuck off or like yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like walking around eggshells around him lah.
Yeah.
But that's like not just emotional vulnerability. I guess it comes with like emotional like control. So EI, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like EI is not just like knowing yourself and being able to express yourself. You're also being able to control your emotions and like be able to have a control over how
To
you
not
express
be
it.
explosive lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another aspect of emotional vulnerability lah. So in that sense, like emotional vulnerability is okay, but it has to be done correctly.
Yeah. Of course.
Has to be respectful as well lah.
Okay.
Because like you might not be responsible for the emotions rising within you, but I think you are more than 60% responsible, with what you do with the rising emotions.
And like no lah, on the other end of the spectrum, there are also like some people who use it to manipulate others as well.
Like you cry to get what you want.
Yeah, or like if you break up with me, I'm gonna like kill myself, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like exploiting a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that was tough.
That one might be off tangent for today's topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we
I
understand.
agree.
Yeah.
I think there's also like another train of thought that I had when I was talking when I was listening to the TikTok. I was thinking that like I think it also depends on the type of relationship you have with the person, right?
Right.
Because I was talking to Casey about this, then I don't want to put her on blast or whatever, but like Casey just said that like
Putting her on blast right now.
it's true that like if you cry, I won't be sexually attracted to you.
Right.
Like not
Okay.
at least for the time being, like not forever.
Yeah.
But like for like the next like day or so, I will be like making sure you're
Yeah,
okay lah.
yeah,
I
of
won't want to
course.
fuck you. Like that's not how it
Yeah.
works, right? So I'm like, no, that's kind of true. But
is that taking it too literally?
I don't know. But which makes me think that like maybe if your type of relationship is like a very purely sexual relationship,
Right.
or like a very lustful relationship, I guess I can see in that case why having as a guy like if your USP quote unquote is your manliness or your or how domineering you are, how like physically attractive you are, then crying might ruin the illusion.
Okay, then
Right.
that's kind
Right,
of
right.
You get what I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
Then in that sense, I can understand if his end goal of love is just sex.
Yeah.
Because in that sense, I guess I get it. But if your type of
But this
relationship,
is purely on the topic of sexual attraction.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Because I mean, it's natural lah. If anyone cry, I won't be like,
Yeah.
I won't want to like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just.
I mean, we're not king shaming here. If
I mean, if you want to, sure, but like,
if it works for you, it works
goes
for you. Yeah.
But like, but it's not something that I think of lah. I want to like,
Yeah.
console them and make sure they're okay. So in that sense, I can kind of agree. Like, if let's say if two people are like FWBs or something, and suddenly one person start
Yeah.
crying and like saying like, oh my god, my family is in shambles, or whatever, then you'd be like, what the hell? I don't want to be as FWB
Yeah.
anymore lah.
Yeah.
And I can kind of understand that situation because that relationship is purely lustful in nature. But if it's like I won't say true love, whatever, because who the hell knows true love? But like in terms of like if you're
Romantic relationship.
more romantic relationship about like getting to know each other, then I can see how
Yeah.
being emotionally vulnerable might, if anything, strengthen the bond, right?
And it's also like I mentioned, a filter for whether this person is potentially possible for you to spend the rest of your life with lah. Because for me personally, like I feel that like my angle of approach when it comes to this question, right, is always on a very self-love kind of viewpoint. Because if you love yourself enough, right, I always feel you will if you love yourself enough to not fall prey to people's reactions to your vulnerability, right, then you can very easily cut off people who are not for you.
Yeah.
And as a result, does not matter whether these people are attracted to you or not. Because there are all kinds of people in the world.
Yeah, as in like
Right.
being able to self-aware or like
Yeah.
you have enough
And
self-worth.
if you love yourself enough, like self-worth, right? If you feel yourself worthy enough, right? If these people come your way, you will have absolutely no qualms about losing them because there's a mismatch. Because there are just so many different kinds of people in the world. And there's bound to be some. We can't say everyone, right? There's bound to be some. I mean, the mere fact that we're having this conversation now goes to show that at least 3 people in this room agree that emotional vulnerability is fine.
Yeah.
But there's bound to be some that isn't fine.
Do you think if you had to guess do you think the majority is fine or minority?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I think these days, it's starting to increase in terms of people being fine with emotional vulnerability. But I still think the majority is not the best, not okay with it.
You?
I feel like it's the opposite.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Really? Why would you say so?
Like, okay, I did like a quick questionnaire, like just a research within my company, like, which is like,
Yeah.
for context, 100% female. So I went to everyone.
With good welfare.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So I went to everyone, like to my manager, to my director, to like even my CEO. I was like, so how do you feel about men crying in front of you? How do you feel about emotional like vulnerability? What do you think? What is your take on like masculinity like in this day and age?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh dude, just cry. Just go ahead. Just let it all out.
No, but that's a very different question as compared to like a romantic partner situation.
Yeah, so they would very much prefer their partner be openly vulnerable with them in almost any scenario, to be honest, rather than to hide and keep everything to themselves.
Yeah, but at the same time, I have to disagree about that being an indication of the majority, because within our circles, like the three of us, right, we have similar energy people in our circles because we are all in the media industry, right? And we're all young,
Yeah.
but there are way more older people than there are young people younger than us people.
Yeah.
And as a result, I really firmly believe that we might be pushing the mindset away, but the dominant mindset is still that emotional vulnerability in men, right, is not sexy.
I think, I actually, I do agree, to be
Statistically,
honest.
I believe that's the stats.
I think if I had to go, I think if do stats...
Yeah, but let's not mistake it here for me being a cynic. I'm not trying to be cynical here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying statistically, that's what I believe.
I do agree. I think if it's just stats-wise, maybe you might see like I won't say overwhelming
Like
majority, but like small majority maybe.
48-52
Yeah. They might be like a bit more wary about when guys are emotionally vulnerable. But I do think that the needle is shifting a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like we have gotten to a point where we should be emotionally vulnerable with each other. And fortunately, like movies and pop culture nowadays have shown like a more like vulnerable men.
The macho man thing is no longer
really much
the
of a
dominant
thing,
image that is shown in pop culture.
Yeah.
Which is also fine, but like when we just now were talking about how stingy is the negative connotation of thrift.
Yeah.
I feel that this can also be sometimes taken too far, where it almost reaches a point whereby there's a dislike for the macho image. I feel that it should be a balance because it has to cater to everyone. There are all kinds of people. If you just talk about men, there's all kinds of men. Some men can be macho. Some men can be a certain way. Why must we all be the same?
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And there's a thing where, I don't know, it's been on TikTok, but it's like the whole vision of a macho man, like Channing Tatum, hot bod, whatever, it's a very male gaze. Whereas the female gaze is very much like Pete Davidson, like the very goofy kind. Doesn't have to be like like hot, doesn't have to be handsome.
You hear me? I've seen this too.
Yes.
I've seen this talk about the male gaze and female gaze, but I also firmly believe that like that is too much of a generalization. And my belief is that every single person is different.
Yeah, I think they look for different things.
To the point that it's very difficult to even call it a male or female gaze.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think different people have their own perspective.
Correct.
I ran through the Pete Davidson thing, the Pete Davidson theory about
Yeah.
like this girl was saying that like the reason why Pete Davidson managed to back Kim Kardashian shouldn't be like that surprising to everyone because
Yeah.
because Pete Davidson is funny as shit,
Yeah.
and to girls like funny guys are hot
Yeah.
and attractive. So I was like running this through like a few of my friends who are girls, and they were saying that like not exactly true lah. So like even though it is a factor, like it's not something that like it's not the be all and all. So but at the
yeah.
same time, like some girls did agree
Yeah.
like fully.
Yeah, that's what I said. And I wanted to add on to an earlier point about why I think even there's overgeneralization, because these kind of thought patterns are very Western and specific to America. We haven't explored the rest of the world
That's true.
with different kinds of thinking. And that's why I'm really of the belief that every single person is different. And thus, right, the only way to come up with an answer for this question is to love yourself enough to filter out what you cannot stand.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in your case, then you will say it's more of a match thing lah.
For me, personally, like I
Yeah.
said, in this relationship, right, emotional vulnerability is a goal,
Okay.
right? But in other relationships, it might not be. But that's where it's not me saying no go, but me being vulnerable being no go.
Wait, I don't get it.
That means like the guy, me being emotionally vulnerable in a separate relationship may not be acceptable.
Yeah.
And I am okay with that.
Oh, you're
And
okay.
I am
with that.
okay with losing that relationship because I know what I need. But I do have to acknowledge for a fact that they exist.
Yeah. Okay. So you
Yeah.
think that okay. So you're not prescribing a way that that love or relationship
Yeah.
should be, but
Correct.
you should know what. So personally, you will want to be emotionally vulnerable. I'm
Yes.
sure. Okay.
And personally, I believe that, like, I mean, the podcaster guy, he makes good points. I will not deny that. But the other issue with that is that, like, he's overgeneralizing. He's saying that all women, right, react this way. It's not true. Every single person reacts differently. We need to individualize problems. And as a result, you need to treat individuals with the right approach, right amount of vulnerability and the right amount of what's the opposite of vulnerability? Don't know, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So everyone has to meet that right balance, and it's just about whether it's within the range you can accept. So us trying to even find whether there's a consensus, right? Is thinking about it wrongly here.
So do you feel like there won't be a consensus lah?
I don't think we will ever achieve a consensus
Fair enough.
unless we reach some kind of hive mind post-utopia, which does not happen because the whole irony of this is that the human race is beautiful because it's diverse.
Yeah. But at the same
And
time,
as a result of things being diverse, our problems are diverse too,
that's true.
right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I do think that if you want, I don't know, but maybe it's just me lah. Okay, but I don't know. I want to hear from you guys as well. But I do feel that like being emotionally vulnerable, from what I see, most people would like that.
I think
be a-
bottom line is communication. Yeah. Just getting your emotions. You don't have to cry. You don't have to be angry as shit. But you just need to voice out your problems, communicate it well. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I also do think that like as what you said, like different people have different scenarios also. For that guy, maybe all he wants from a relationship is sex or physical attraction or like physical intimacy.
For all you know, it could be in a very roundabout way. He wants someone who will not hate him for being vulnerable.
Maybe he's just been hurt.
Yeah.
But who knows? But like, if I guess if you are looking for a relationship just for physical intimacy, I guess in some sense I can see where you're coming
then the
from.
vulnerability doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. But like for a lot of other people, including the three of us, emotional vulnerability is very important for us.
Yeah.
And we all can collectively agree, at least amongst the three of us, that isn't like a deal breaker.
It's not a
as
deal
long as it's
breaker.
done well.
As long as it's done well and it does not exceed any limits.
Yeah.
Right? We all have these internal limits that we may not be able to verbally quantify. But we do have them, and we know this, right? I mean, a simple manifestation is that we have our limits to our patience,
Yeah.
right? And patience is just one of the small aspects that we can verbally explain. But everyone also has an upper limit in terms of their emotional shouldering capability,
Yeah.
right? And also a lower limit, some people, right? Because they don't want people to be too emotionally aloof,
I agree.
right? And if your partner or whatever is able to exist within that range, then you will be able to form something a little bit more stable or something more green zone, right? Green good to go. Yeah. And that's where I would say I wouldn't even call it a good relationship, but a relationship can exist. Yeah.
Breanna, do you have any closing thoughts?
I think emotional vulnerability is welcomed. Like for me, like personally, like, I don't want to like speak for all women out there. It's welcomed. Fantastic. Just cry. Just tell me how you feel. But you don't have to. If you're not comfortable with like crying in front of me, whatnot, it's fine. Just tell me how you feel. Keep communication open so that things can be solved right then. Other than like you shouldering and keeping all the problems to yourself because you don't want to like let me know your problems, you don't want to like be emotional, then they'll in turn create more problems, right? Which we might not even be able to solve. So it's just be open from the get-go. You don't have to be emotional, just tell me.
Yeah. I think it's an EI thing. Lah.
Yeah.
It's not like emotional vulnerability is just one way you can express yourself.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately you just need to be able to control your emotions, understand your emotions, and express them in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever works, that one is whatever works for whoever. Lah.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't think you don't need to cry.
Yeah,
I
you
don't think not crying is a red flag. Neither do I think crying is a red flag. It's just it needs to, your emotions need to come out healthily. You need to communicate that well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's my bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of IMO. Hope you
A
guys
little bit
enjoyed.
deep. Hope you understood what we were trying to explain here.
If you want
But,
Breanna back
yeah.
for another episode where she can make another episode of IMO go viral, please tell us down in the comments down below.
Yeah.
We might be trying to look at another episode of Girlfriends ranking our past gifts.
Yes.
So if you want Breanna to do that, do let us know as
And
well.
Kezia too. And
Kezia as well.
But because you like us, just talk in the comments anyway.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe. Don't get COVID. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.